up, guys? I hope you're doing good today. We're moving on to 5.11, which is another trig ratio. Last lesson we did sine. Now we're using something called cosine. We're going to be doing the same exact thing, but just using a different ratio. So let's jump into it. So right now we're doing the same thing as sine. But now I have cosine of theta, which is going to be the angle that I'm referencing. And cosine is always going to be known as adjacent over hypotenuse. So in the last lesson, I was labeling the opposite side, the hypotenuse, then I labeled that adjacent side. So now we're going to be using that adjacent side in cosine. So let's go ahead and label my triangle right now. So with this being said, it's asking me to do the cosine of A. So right now, looking from A, I'm going to label it just like I did on the last lesson. This is my opposite side. Opposite the 90 degree is always your hypotenuse. And then that third side that I did not label is going to be my adjacent side. So now the cosine of A, I'm going to do the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. So my adjacent side is going to be AB in this instance. And my hypotenuse is going to be AC. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be the cosine of A. So again, opposite, hypotenuse, adjacent. Okay? So now on this example over here on cosine C, I need to write the ratio for the cosine of C. So that means I am going to be looking at angle C as my reference. I am looking at the triangle and the sides from angle C. So opposite of C is always going to be your opposite side. Opposite the 90 is going to be your hypotenuse. And then this third side that I did not label is going to be known as my adjacent side. Okay? So the cosine of C, I'm going to do the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. So the adjacent side is going to be BC, and the hypotenuse is going to be AC. So ladies and gentlemen, that would end up being the ratio of the cosine C. So we're going to take this different measurement or this different ratio, and we're going to put it into play just like we did the sine in the last lesson. So here we go. All right, so on example number 1, it says, what is the value of x? So it looks like I'm trying to find a missing side length on a right triangle. Right triangle, I can use trig to find that missing side. So it looks like I'm given this angle right now, okay? So I'm going to be referencing everything from that angle. So right now, this is my opposite side. Opposite the 90 is always your hypotenuse. And this side down here is my adjacent side, not the side that I labeled already. So if we look here, I need to find my adjacent side. I have my hypotenuse, so adjacent over hypotenuse is going to be my cosine ratio. So the cosine is going to be adjacent over hypotenuse. So again, cosine of 37, remember I put that angle right there, is going to be equal to the adjacent side, which is x, over the hypotenuse, which is 14. So again, both of these are going to be equal because if I type this in the calculator, it's going to give you a decimal. I need to find the value of x that when I type that in the calculator, it's going to make the same exact decimal. So right now, x is being divided by 14. So that means I'm going to multiply by 14 on both sides to get x by itself. And now in your calculator, all you have to do is 14 times the cosine of 37. So again, 14 times, and then I'm going to click trig. I'm going to go to cosine. And then I'm going to type in 37. And whenever I click enter, x is going to be equal to 11.18. So ladies and gentlemen, your value of x would end up being 11.18. Okay? So let's jump on to example number 2. All right, so on example number 2 here, we have a right triangle and it's asking me to find the value of x. But if we look here, x is an angle here. So automatically when you're trying to find an angle, the first thing that you should think about is inverse. We're doing the inverse of something to find the angle, okay? So with that being said, we're going to label everything from x. So opposite of x is your opposite side. Opposite of the 90 is your hypotenuse. And then obviously the side that I did not label is my adjacent side. So with this being said, I have my adjacent side. I have my hypotenuse. Well, I know cosine is going to be adjacent over hypotenuse. So I'm going to be using the cosine. So right now, I'm doing the cosine of x, because I don't know what my angle is, and that's going to be equal to the adjacent side over the hypotenuse, so adjacent over hypotenuse. So again, Once when I know I'm trying to find the angle, the first thing you should think of is I'm going to be doing the inverse of something. So I'm going to be doing cosine inverse, and then inside those parentheses, when you type that in, you're going to put that ratio. So in your calculator, I'm going to click Trig, or on the calculator on the computer, you're going to click the function button. You're going to go to inverse of cosine, so cosine to the -1 power, and I'm going to do 90 divided by 20. And when I click that enter button, it's going to give me 63.25. So ladies and gentlemen, your angle is going to be about 63.25 degrees right there, okay? So that's how you use inverse to find the angle, all right? Okay, let's jump over to example number 3. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump over to example number 3. It says, use the figure below to find W and X. So right now, I'm going to end up finding W first, and then I'm going to find X down here. Because in order for me to find this angle, I need 2 side lengths, okay? And I don't have 2 side lengths, okay? So I need to find W first. But I want to use the cosine ratio. So right now, if I was going from this angle, this would be my opposite, my hypotenuse. So I could find this measurement by using the sine ratio, but I'm going to use the cosine ratio. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to find this angle up here by using all the angles of a triangle add up to 180. So this angle up here would end up being 58 degrees, okay? So with that being said, I'm going to look at everything from this angle up here, okay? So right now, opposite of that 58 is going to be my opposite side. Opposite the 90 is always going to be your hypotenuse. And then this third side down here is going to be my adjacent side, which is going to be W, okay? So now I'm going to end up finding what W is. So with that being said, I need to find my opposite side, I need to find my adjacent side, and I have my hypotenuse. So I'm going to use the cosine, which is going to be adjacent over hypotenuse, okay? So right now I'm doing the cosine of 58 is going to be equal to the adjacent side, which is W, over the hypotenuse, which is 5. So right now I'm trying to get W by itself, so I'm dividing by 5, so that means I need to multiply by 5 on both sides. And then in my calculator or on your computer, you're going to do 5 times the cosine of 58. And when you click that enter button, you should end up getting 2.6496. So ladies and gentlemen, the W value is going to be that right there, okay? And so now, I now have my W. So now I can find the value of X here by using the inverse. Because remember, when I'm trying to find an angle, I have to use the inverse. So I'm going to go ahead and look at this. From X now, I'm going to use a different color so we can see it. From X, this is going to be my opposite side now. Opposite the 90 is going to be my hypotenuse, so that would make this my adjacent side. So opposite over hypotenuse, I'm going to be using the sine ratio now. So I'm going to do the sine of X is going to be equal to my opposite, which is 2.6496, over the hypotenuse, which is 6. So again, if I'm trying to find the angle, I need to use the inverse. So I'm going to use the inverse of sine, and I'm going to type in this angle, which is going to end up giving me, so let me type it in. That should give you 26.21, roughly. So ladies and gentlemen, this would end up giving your value. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. But when I type that in, it should give you 26.21. Okay, so there's your angle measurement. All right, let's jump over to example number 4. All right, lastly, looking at example number 4 here. It says, use the model below to find how deep the submarine is traveling below the water. So right now, if I was looking from 38, I have a right triangle, so I can use trig. This is my opposite side, this is my hypotenuse, but I want to use cosine. So I'm going to use all 3 angles of a triangle add up to 180, so this angle down here would actually be 52. So I'm going to be using the submarine angle down there, okay? So with that being said, I need to find the submarine is traveling below the water, so I need to find what X is. So right now, opposite of 52 is going to be my opposite side. Opposite the 90 is going to be my hypotenuse. And then this third side that I did not label is going to be my adjacent side. So I need my adjacent side. I have my hypotenuse. So that means I'm going to be using cosine because it is adjacent over hypotenuse. Okay? So with that being said, I'm going to do the cosine of 52 is going to be equal to the adjacent side over the hypotenuse, which is 500. So now if I want to get x by itself, I'm going to multiply by 500 on both sides. So that's going to cancel. So in my calculator, I'm going to do the cosine of 52, and I'm going to multiply that by 500. And so when I click enter, the distance that the submarine is below the water is going to be about 307.8, and that's going to be yards underwater. So ladies and gentlemen, this is how you use cosine to find a missing side of a triangle. Okay, let me know if you need any help.